Hello and welcome to today's lesson from the IELTS Coach. Today we are going to look at the listening band score calculator, and I'm going to share some listening tips to help you improve your listening score. So first of all, let's get straight into it and look at the calculator, or the table which shows what your raw score is out of 40 and then converts that into the IELTS band score. So you can see that on the screen here, and we have from a 2 to a 9 in the band score, and then your raw score, which is out of 40. Obviously, if you get a perfect score, 40, that's a 9. If you make one or two mistakes, that's an 8.5. So here you can see what you need to do to achieve your band score goal. So if you know I need a 7.5 in listening, then you can see I have to consistently get 33 or higher in order to get the 7.5. But also remember, this is a guide. This is not officially from IELTS. So I do recommend aiming for half a band higher than what you need. So if you need a 7.5, aim for an 8. So you want to get 35 or more correct every time you do a practice test. If you can do 4 or 5 practice tests with 35 or 36 correct out of 40, that means you are probably ready to do something similar in the real test. Even if you make 1 or 2 more mistakes, you're still going to achieve your goal. So use this as a guide, use this as a way to motivate yourself and a way to see the target that you need to reach. Now, we'll get rid of that table and let's look at some tips to help with your listening skills. And my first tip is to use the time. There's not much time, but there is some time between questions, between sections. Use the time to write real possible predictions, not just notes or word types. Some students write, oh, it's a number, a noun, it's an adjective, time. They write time, T-I-M-E. The answer is not going to be time. It's going to be 3 p.m. or 4 a.m. So write that instead. It's actually faster, it's shorter in this case, but write something that is possible. That way, if you do get the correct answer, which is not likely, but it's possible, then you don't have to write it again. But it also shows that you already have the grammar and the context correct. Okay, you don't have to think about it. Writing time, noun, verb, it's never going to be that as the answer. Write something that's possible. I have done this with students in 40 question tests. Just get them to predict without listening. Some students get 10 correct out of 40. Writing real predictions really helps you. It also helps the brain know what to expect. It's much easier when you hear the real answer. It will be similar to what you wrote. Oh, I wrote 3 p.m., it's 3:30 p.m. That's the real answer. So you were very close, but it's easy to make that adjustment. The next tip that I have is not to get stuck on a question. Write your answer and move on. Don't overthink it. Don't go back, oh, but maybe it was this, or maybe it was that, or should I change it? Oh, I'll write it and move on. You don't have time to overthink. If you think it might be too, oh, was it 3 p.m. or 4 p.m.? Write both of them and move on. Don't waste time making a decision. You can make that decision later when you have more time. When you have the 10 minutes to transfer, you might also get more information after that. So, but write your answer or 2 possible answers and then move on. Otherwise, you're going to miss out. You will miss the answer to the next question. Be careful about changing answers when you're transferring. So if you've written 2 answers, you've got to make a decision when you transfer. But if you've written 1 answer and then when you transfer, you want to change it, you've got to be careful about why. Remember, it's a listening test. What you wrote down is likely what you heard, or very close to what you heard. If you change it because you think, oh, this is a better answer, it makes more sense. It's not about making sense. What did you hear? So it's got to make sense, and it has to be closely linked to what you heard. It has to sound the same to what you heard. So be careful about changing. The only time I do recommend changing when you transfer is when it's about spelling or grammar. So when you're writing and listening, you write quickly. It's quite easy to make a spelling mistake or write single form instead of the plural. So So that's a time when you can make that change because it's still the same word, it's still the same sound, you're just making a spelling or grammatical adjustment. So that's what you should change when you are transferring. And the last little tip I have here is to analyze your mistakes. I say this a lot with all parts of the test. Why did you make a certain mistake? And focus on fixing that, especially the mistakes that you make quite often. So not having the S on the end of a word is a very common mistake. If you have 5 mistakes in your listening and 4 of them are just because you didn't write the correct form, S or no S, plural or single, that's something you have to focus on. And in the listening, the plurals or singles usually aren't because of listening. It's the grammar. If there's an article, then it needs to be a single form. A book, not books. Okay, so you should know that. Even if you hear the S, grammatically we know that's not possible. So, but find out what your common mistake is. Maybe it's articles, maybe it's S, maybe it's spelling, maybe it's numbers. Oh, I always make mistakes with numbers. Practice that. I have videos specifically for listening and writing numbers. Find out which type of question. It might be the multiple choice questions. It might be section 4 where they don't take a break. Find out where you make your most mistakes. Focus on improving that area. So there's just 5 quick tips plus the calculator so you can convert your raw score to your band score. If you have any questions or comments about the listening test and you would like me to make some videos about the listening exam, let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson.